There we go. Sounds like I did that accurately. Thank you. And then I will, hold on a moment. I will share my, okay. Hopefully you all can just see the first screen. Can someone, I can't see you all. Can someone?
Yes, ma'am. It's just
Perfect.
the first.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So you are attending the Preschool Promise January 29th Hub meeting. And the Preschool Promise program lives within the Program Design and Administration Office, and coordinated enrollment that touches Preschool Promise lives within the Community Systems Office. And so I added that Community Systems Office to the front slide. And then this slide is always in there for you to go back to as a resource so that you know the Oregon Department of Early Learning and Care's mission, vision, and values. This is the roles of the Program Design and Administration Office, where the Preschool Promise program lives. And then we list out how the office can help assist Preschool Promise grantees with their PSP grant. And also the roles of the Community Assistance Team and the Coordinated Enrollments Team contact information, my colleague Sydney Brown, and then of course myself. Once again, you are attending the Preschool Promise Hub meeting. This is for all things Preschool Promise Hub related on implementing the program. All questions are welcome. Thank you again for being here. And on the agenda, we have the welcome, which, as you imagine, I am so grateful to have my colleague Dana back. So we have welcome Dana. Dana, thank you and welcome back. I have asked, and I'd be grateful if you would put your name in there with the hub that you are with so that we can look at that and touch base with that later. On the PSP grantee updates, today we will cover and answer any questions in regards to the low enrollment process, should you have any. Then we will briefly touch on slot reallocation. We have a few updates on the gala waiver, and then I just have a couple of things to share with you on the Hub PSP site level placement report. And then if we have time, we will talk about our discussion question and then open it up for questions and answers. And so with that, I have invited from the PSP team my colleague Lisa Buss. She has joined us in some previous meetings talking about low enrollment. And I'm going to mute myself, and she's just going to give a brief overview and then open it up for question and answers in case you have any at this time. Thank you, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Just here to talk about the low enrollment process. Not, I know this says update, but there's really no update since the last time we met. So really it's kind of just touching base and making sure that everybody understands what the expectation is and where we're at. We're now, I think, moving forward with third instance on our end, which moves more towards the corrective action plan. So with this document in front of you. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I know you guys have seen this one a couple times. I don't want to rehash what you might already have seen on that one. I think it's the next document that gives a little more clarity, hopefully, as to timelines and where your role falls within that timeline as well. Are there any questions in regards to the process and this document in front of you?
I'll jump to the next
All
slide on the
right, that sounds good.
timeline. Yep.
Thanks, Mel. So the timeline here, and it looks very small to me. There we go. So first instance, this is just kind of giving an idea as to where we're at. Notification is sent to the site via Smartsheet. It's an automatic response. Respond to the preschool promise acknowledgement. It happens within 5 days. So as soon as that email is opened up, it's an automatic notification that goes into our Smartsheet to identify that it was received and opened. Within 10 days, the collaboration with the hub on the enrollment improvement plan with the Preschool Promise grantee. And we also offer TA if it's needed at that time, but that's the point when the enrollment improvement plan needs to be submitted back to us. So that collaboration has occurred between the hub and the grantee. And then at that point, obviously it's going along. Let's say we get a notification via the second instance. So another month has come along, still low enrolled. That notification is sent out. And then same respond to preschool promise acknowledgement within 5 days of that second is what the grantee is expected to do. And then at this point, there's the collaboration with the hub, answering any additional questions. And I think this is where it might have gotten a little confusing. There is not another EIP that is necessary. It's, I believe, about 3 questions that are sent out, and the grantee responds to those 3 questions just to kind of really tackle maybe what worked well from that EIP that you guys worked on together the month prior, what wasn't working, maybe what shifts are going to occur, what changes have occurred, to just kind of gauge what has maybe happened since the prior 30 days and since the EIP was implemented. That second instance, there's a meeting with the grantee and DELC to identify if there's, if there's progress moving forward. Obviously, we see that things are going well, then there's a decision made as to whether or not TA is needed, whether or not a meeting needs to occur. And then that meeting for that second instance does occur with the grantee and DELC to talk about next steps, because after this second instance, they move on to third instance, which is a corrective action plan, which I know previously you guys were really involved in that corrective action plan that you worked on together with the grantee. And I kind of, how I try to explain it is that corrective action plan that you did previously is now what is considered the enrollment improvement plan. So when we talk about corrective action plan today in this arena in regards to the low enrollment process, that is really dedicated for the grantee. They are the ones that are now going to be in a corrective action plan with the Preschool Promise team. And that's kind of, I don't want to say that's the point where you fall out, because you don't, because you're still conducting your services and helping them to, get placements. So they are getting above the 80%, making forward progress. But at that corrective action plan is when we meet with the grantee to talk about really kind of the next steps and our enforcement phase after that within 30 or 60 days, depending on what they can demonstrate after that corrective action plan is implemented and where we feel we can move, and if there's forward movement and if there's upward movement, and they need to be at 100% by the time that corrective action plan is implemented and that next reporting period comes through. So hopefully that provides a little bit of clarity. Mel, I'll let you identify who's has the questions, and I don't know
Yeah,
if you take them off mute or.
yeah, Molly. I see Molly. Molly, you're welcome to come off mute.
Thanks. Hi, so a question about that process. So for programs that are preparing to meet with you around the corrective action plan, because we're continuing to promote and do outreach, if those are not meetings that hubs will be invited to attend, is there any way that we could get like kind of a recap or any kind of follow-up so we know what, you know what I mean, what that process looks like? I know we don't want to engage with families and offer slots if decisions have been made that impact the slots remaining. I'd also be really great to know when the 30 days kick in. Is it at that first CAT meeting when the documents are signed? Because it'd be helpful for us to know what that timeline looks like.
So I guess and Dana, you can jump in at any point too. To me, my opinion on that is you need to be working with the grantees up until you hear from the Preschool Promise team that they either have had slots reduced or they have had a grant termination or they're on probation or something of that nature, just because it is a moving target is what I like to say. We are looking at it constantly. We're assessing whether or not those measures are met, whether there's upward movement. So until an action is taken by Preschool Promise, you need to be working closely with your grantees to get them to where they need to be so they don't have those adverse actions come either 30 or 60 days. But of course, when and if that decision is made, you guys will be notified so you aren't then after that point placing. Because sometimes it could even be towards the end of the year, we've made a determination that their grant will be terminated and it'll be effective for the following program year. So there's just a lot of factors that go into play when the committee actually meets to talk about the enforcement action of that. So we wouldn't want
Okay.
anybody to prematurely stop working with
Of course, of course.
grantees.
Can I
Yeah,
ask another clarifying question?
of
So for the
course.
programs that we do enrollment for, we often have like the most up-to-date picture of like who's in their waiting pool and who is applying and who's being referred. So is there a way for us to make sure? I mean, we're updating. We have one program that's in mind for me, and we are updating them regularly, but because we are working with families and referring families, um, is there a way for us to make sure we're contributing to that process so that you make sure that you're getting a clear snapshot of what demand and current activity looks like? We are updating the grantee um, regularly, but I do know that things can change daily. So just wanted to check in with that.
And I guess my understanding is possibly that your conduit to that is Mel's team and that team, right, to make those communications and let it be known. I believe there's also, are you talking about how do you communicate that to where the messaging gets to us at Preschool Promise? Is that the question,
Yeah,
or am I
I
missing
guess I
it?
feel like if the
Okay,
program is trying to let you know what's going on with their
yeah.
location, and we're the ones that are receiving interest from families initially, and then
Mhm.
providing them with an update, like it would be nice for us to have an opportunity to also let you all know, like at this moment in time, this is what we're looking at, just to make sure that most up-to-date information is getting directly to you as you are making decisions.
Just to go ahead, another great question there, Molly. I mean, I think our process is to go ahead and, be as collaborative as, we need to go ahead and get that information because the information that you have is going to go ahead and like provide us with the information to go ahead and make a decision there. So let us, I mean, I think about like for your grantee, Molly, I mean, I guess one thing that Lisa and I want to clarify, at any time you can go ahead and reach out to Mel and give us an update. Let us go ahead and also let's make note of this and take a look at our process and see, okay, where can you go ahead and provide to us that information a little bit, like constantly as the process goes. One thing with a corrective action plan is that the grantee is required to go ahead and give us like a quick little update at the beginning of each month versus like, in addition to the monthly report that they have to submit by the 15th of the following month. So I'm thinking like that in that update, that will be a great, place for you to go ahead and like for the grantee to go ahead and like provide us with that information, but let us go through the process and see where would it be a natural point where we can get that information from you all.
Okay, that would
Yeah.
be great. Because
Yeah.
at that one location has three families applying and one spot left for grabs. That's it.
Oh
We've
wow.
had a lot of
Okay.
activity in January. So
Wow.
I just want to make sure that
That's good.
information is
Yeah.
getting to you all as it's needed to
Yeah.
make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely yeah, let Lisa and I kind of go through it. But as always, if you have an email you want to send to Mel right now so
Mhm.
they can get it to us,
Okay,
please go ahead and
great.
do so. Okay.
And then one other question, I did look at the document, the CAP document that goes to grantees and the language around enrollment. We have a lot of families we've referred recently this month that are still getting their orientation and haven't started
Mhm.
attending yet.
Okay.
What is the grantee reporting to you when they give you an enrollment update? Are they going to miss the families that they're trying to schedule their orientations with? Are they reporting children as attending or referred?
In their monthly report is going to be the ones that are actually enrolled. But on that quick little check-in that they do at the beginning of the month, that will be the report that is like, hey, I already have 10 families enrolled as of right now. In my communication with the hub, it looks like we have another 10 coming by the end of this week. That's where Elisa, added this check-in, which I think is really good to go ahead and have that to be able to capture this piece of information that we normally wouldn't have available, and then it creases back and forth. So it will be on the check-in where they can provide us like a wider view, but on that monthly enrollment report, that one is the same as it has been in previous years. It's only enrolled children. Now they are able to, in the comments of that monthly report, add notes. They could say like, hey, January, I only have 5 out of my 10 kiddos in communication with the hub. 10 are going to be starting here next month. So they are also able to add additional comments there. So we're more on the comments section that they could do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for asking those questions, Molly.
Great
On
questions.
a few of those, you weren't the only individual, so thank you for asking for clarification. Any
Any other
other?
questions? Melina, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, so if a program we had like an enrollment and improvement plan, but then we were able to get the program after that plan get them up above the 80% that the DELC wants. We wouldn't have the second instant notification unless we were below that, correct? Like the next month.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So once you're
Just
able to go ahead and get them up, yay, that's where we want to, that's where you want to go. The other thing, the other thing that eventually we will be transitioning to, right? So, hey, Dana's always at 80% the whole program year. Does that make sense? There's still slots available. So eventually, as we continue with our enrollment reviews, we are going to be looking at higher percentages. But right now, as far as like, and I think that we are all aware, right? You continue enrolling, right? The goal is that we are a 100% enrollment at all times, right? And right now we're really taking action on those that are like, below that 80%. And we've been very, very careful to ensure that grantees, and you all know, and that we know internally, 80% is not what the grant is requirement. It's required is 100%. So eventually we will be looking more deeply of like, why is that grantee staying at the 83% the whole year? Does that make sense in some of those pieces? So a little heads up there. Any other questions? Jorge.
Okay.
The question it might apply to other folks in a similar situation.
Oh,
Oh, you're muted, Jorge.
Sorry about that. I'm muted. I was going to say some other hubs might be in a similar situation right now, so I wanted to share this. One of our grantees here in Multnomah is in that low enrollment situation, and recently, I believe it was on Monday when she submitted um, the request to reduce two of her slots. However, she just got a new family today who qualifies for Preschool Promise, and her site, it's kind of like the only one in that area, Southeast Portland. Um, and I reached out in an email. She's asking the same question if her request can be changed from two to one, since it hasn't been approved yet.
Gotcha. So, okay. That's I mean, she already reduced. I think that's the because that's one thing that we're finding with our preschool promise grantees, especially for some that are like it's not gonna happen. Does that mean, so they are actually self-reduced. So when a grantee like cells reduce, we start that process, right, of reducing. And that's when the grant agreement, starts, everything kind of starts going there, right? So I think for this one, it will be a matter of like looking and seeing if there's any other programs that the family may be interested, or if there's any other publicly funded programs in that area. But for this one's particular, because I'm looking at what the end of the year, no, the year just started. It's like the month's ending here. Let us look into this one, see where it's at, right? Let Lisa and I connect with on this, and then we'll connect with you to make sure that you know what to do. Because the other piece of it is like, I don't know, like, has she already filled those slots with two private families? You know what I mean? Or like more. So I think there's a little bit more, but we really try to like really listen to the business owner when they're saying, hey, we want to reduce to this amount, because we assume that they have made those determinations as far as like what does their preschool for all look like, and their private pay, and their some of the other factors. So we'll look into that for you and let you know. Now, for all of us here, when a grantee cells reduce, then the plan is that we're going to go ahead and need time to go ahead and get everything updated. And the goal will be is that you are also notified, so then you know like the number of slots are available at that provider. One thing to know, is for the self-reduce. If for some reason that specific site is on your hub's eligible provider list, right? Just because they're returning the slots, if they are on that list, there is a potential that in the future they could get those slots back. But if they're not on that list, then they may not, right? So I think there's something new, right, with the eligible provider list that we have now. Alessandro?
Thank you. Couple of questions, just to be sure, because the collaborative enrollment improvement plan is different from the corrective action, correct? So when you receive the information for this collaborative plan, you are satisfied, the process stop there. So we don't, because I see different step there. So if the provider and the hub in this form fill the question of DELC, so and the provider reach 80%, 90%, we will not have this extra step connected with them. Is this
Correct.
correct?
Yep, that's correct.
The second things, in the past, and maybe you didn't remember, providers were over the threshold, 80%, 100% for several months. And occasionally, because this has happened every year, they have particularly close to the end of the school year, kind of drop, maybe for a 2-3 week under 80%, and after that, there's a kind of generally is up and down. There's some flexibility there, particularly for provider, they can track to have been full enrolled for several months, and after possibly close to the end of the school year, they go down this threshold.
Mhm. Thank you for bringing that up. And so a couple of things to address that is that this process is different than the previous years, because in the previous years we were looking at like what was your average for the first couple months, and then we were doing that. This one is different, that at any time during the program year that you drop below the 80%, you automatically need to go ahead
Okay.
and submit an enrollment improvement plan. So like for this grantees that may have been at that at above the 80%, and all of a sudden it's April when they go down to 75, now they're going to go ahead and be in an enrollment improvement plan. So we're actually monitoring it like really closely, like every month. And then the other piece of it, that's the other thing that we're going to be looking at is like, wow, like these grantees are just staying, not reaching the 100, but they're within the 80
Yeah.
to 99, right? They're not, maybe 99, that's not a good example, but it's like, just between that percentage of like what's going on that they cannot reach
Actually,
the 100 during the whole year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the last things, I know this is complicated, but I
Yeah.
would like you to consider this because, in particular, in Washington County, it's an area like Hillsborough and Forest Grove.
Mm-hmm.
We have situations in which family are not attending constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there is a lot of fear. So maybe, and the provider call us and say, what we're gonna do is a drop. And we call the family, and the family say, we want to stay here, but for the next 2 weeks, we don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Come to the school. So there are this situation that are hard to define because are gray area. Maybe are 2 weeks, maybe are 3 weeks, maybe are more than 25 days. So is a absent leave, is not an absent leave.
Yeah.
It's complicated. So in the report, it's not easy to find a way to coordinate with the provider because the provider maybe are saying this family is not attending, and we call the
Mm-hmm.
family, and the family say, no, we want to stay in the program. It's just a temporary situation
Yeah.
because mom doesn't want to come out from the house. So I don't know. I don't have. I'm just telling you the situation because it's becoming.
It's
The
becoming a
number are becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that there's something, uh, Liz, I think we probably need to definitely make note of that. We'll go ahead and connect with NIE because low attendance should not result in like exiting a child from the program, especially right now. There's so many different instances that are occurring. So that is one thing that we'll go ahead and make sure that our grantees are aware of that, of like how that works. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is another piece of data that in our monthly report we're going to be also like looking at that, right? It's like, okay, you can have 100% enrollment, but let's say that your attendance for the whole classroom is a 40% every month. That we need to go ahead and take a look into that as far as like what's causing that. And then we're also seeing in some of our attendance notes and reports that, the current climate is resulting not just in preschool promise, but other publicly funded programs where families are hesitant to go ahead and come to school, right? So thank you for bringing that up.
And just this is completely different because I don't know if you know there is this work group, Ron is part. The app doesn't have a lot of teeth to control attendance. So we
Mhm.
totally rely on the provider. So we
Yeah,
cannot control the attendance.
yeah.
Uh, this is something maybe in the future we should think about because we had conversation with parents that told us, oh, the class is empty and why the class should have some. So there are also some report uh, we sent to you. So maybe because this is a kind of gap between enrollment, because I know that the children I enrolled were eligible and I place in the class,
Mhm.
but I cannot check and verify if they are attending. And
Mm.
uh, so this is something that in the future maybe should be addressed because we don't know who is
Yeah.
attending. Uh,
Yeah.
in real time. We don't check the list of the students. We are the list the students that the teacher should comply every day and say these children are coming, this not. So there's a kind of gap between enrollment on the paper and attendance
Yeah.
in the real life.
Yeah, and I know that the last year, well, last time when we revised the manual, like we made it very especially for the grantees, it's like, hey, if a child leaves, you need to go ahead and connect with the hub right away. But I think there's more work on that of like, how are we ensuring that you are informed that we had, the little John is not attending anymore, right? Because little Susie may be waiting there to go ahead and attend. When it's not about when the family has clearly left the program, right? Not they're just having, opportunities at home. Alrighty,
Dina,
thank you, Alessandro. Go ahead, Mel.
Dina, we just have see a couple more hands up that we can answer, and then I'll try to move us on to the next topic if that's
Mhm.
okay. I think Molly and Rod, and then I'll look to see if there's other. Go ahead.
Uh, so quick question related. We have had a few families that just return to the area and return to the program is kind of in question. So not day-to-day attendance. And I think One program has recently submitted a request for extended leave. And so my question is, could hubs be notified when you receive those requests so we know you've got one, just in case the program goes to you
Yeah.
first? And then could we also be notified when it's approved or if it's not approved, just so we understand what's going on there?
Yeah, great question there. I don't see why not, right? I mean, I think that that's important for you to know. Um, so somebody else has been reviewing those during my absence. So let me go ahead and look into that so then we can make that a cadence that you are aware, like little Johnny was placed at this program and we've approved and extend the leave. So thank you. It's a good question. Good call. Rod, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick clarifying question, Dana, and I may have missed it. I apologize if I did. But some of our smaller providers that have, let's say, 4 slots, if they lose one child, now they're below the 80%. Is there a grace period time if we got kids on the waiting list to get that filled so they don't automatically have to submit an, you know, an improvement plan? Um,
Oh, I see what you mean. So let's say that we have this provider has 4 slots, little Johnny leaves, right? The provider, let's say little Johnny left, I don't know, last week. You already have little Susie starting in February, but because on the monthly report, it's gonna show that at the last day of the reporting month, this provider only had the 3 kiddos, is going to automatically put them in that plan. But it's like we have a child starting in February. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, they can go from 100% full to below 80 when they
Yeah.
lose one child. So,
Right. Right. Lisa, thoughts on that?
I think as we're initially going through this process, we want to keep it consistent with everybody. That's something we can maybe address later down the road, but I mean, that kind of has to be feathered out. I kind of view that a little differently, and this may not sound fair, but this is how I view it. 80% is 80%. It's 80% for the person who has 8 kids. It's 80% for the person who has 10. And so it's set up to be equal. I know it seems, like that person might have that in front of them quicker than somebody else, but that 80% is, set equally across no matter how many slots you have. So
Mm. But
that's,
definitely,
we'll
Rod,
look at it and yeah.
yeah, as we continue, because I'm thinking like, oh, where could they, because we're also trying to be sensitive, right? Also with everything, with the climate, everything going on, that for some of our smaller providers that cause a lot of stress, right? It's like, oh no, I'm in a corrective action plan. Am I going to go ahead and get shut down? They're going to call you, Rod, and say, or Tammy or both. So we'll go ahead and make note of that. Right now, it is set up that way, but on the monthly report, that provider could put like, yes, 70%. I have little Johnny here starting in February, right? So I should be able to go ahead and do and have my little sister starting here. So I think there's ways there. I think it's going to be more of us, like, because everything's set up right now, the way that it is like, how do we make some of those take into consideration some of those things as we move forward, so to reduce the stress and people get scared at the local level. Okay,
Can,
Tammy, I thought I saw your hand up, but I may have imagined.
I wanted to have an opportunity to Tammy to
Yeah.
speak if she wanted to. Thanks, Dana.
I just added in the comments that I would add that information, and I have in the past, in the comment section when I do my report, because
Okay.
it may have been like just the example, it may have been 0 at the end of the report, but now it's the 4th and we already have it full.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking, and this is something that we can definitely like think about, even with this example, like little Johnny could have very well attended the whole month, and they're just leaving at the end of the month if like that little child's transitioning on. So I think this is also echoing, something for us to consider, that just because it says like, 3 out of 4, that they could have very well meant that there was a child the whole month. Does that make sense? So it wasn't until the very last month. Okay, great. Great for us to go ahead and like think about this. I really appreciate the questions as we're looking, internally. This was a new process, right? Um, so we're always looking to go ahead and make improvement, right? We know how processes are. There's things that we may have not considered when we're going through. Mel?
Can I add? Sorry, I'm gonna
Yeah,
add
yeah,
one
yeah.
more comment if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've had that situation happen, but it falls in the middle of the month, and
Mhm.
so it never gets reported. So it's
Mm,
only it's only gonna occur if it falls right there over end of the month reporting, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Really good feedback and questions. Thank you
Yeah.
all. If you think of any after the meeting, of course, feel free to send us an email or reach out and we will be happy to help. Thank you, Lisa. Always appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Thank you for being here. I am going to move on to the next slide. I do PSP Hub updates afterwards, and this would be you, Dana, on just a quick update on slot reallocation. Pretty
Yes,
please.
no, thank you. And this is really as we're developing new processes and everything, right? For slot reallocation, especially now that we're really looking at the enrollment and we need to go ahead and make, take action or our grantee reduces their amount. We are trying to go ahead and develop a cadence for where we're reallocating those slots back, right? So the team internally ended up looking at, and Sydney, if I miss anything, I'm looking at you. So you can help me. But we're looking at having like three different, this have reallocation information to go ahead and be submitted to us here that we can go ahead and do a reallocation in June, another one in October, and then another one in January. So that way it's not you know, any time of the month, but it's really just looking a way to go ahead and like get those laws back out in community. But then also it provides you with the ability to go ahead and get some data, right? Like, okay, I have 10 slots available in my hub region. What are families telling me? How are publicly funded programs doing? Has there been any shifts in population and so on? But Sydney, anything you want to add on this?
No, Dana, I think you captured the main points there. I would just add that this is also a piece that you'll see in the new coordinated enrollment grant agreement that will begin on April 1st. And so there will be a lot more information and support coming in terms of taking a look at what any shifts in that agreement or any shifts in reporting timelines will be. So I would just add that context, and we'll be planning a meeting in March to go over all of that and also take questions.
Next slide.
Thank you. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Dana. This one is just a quick update on the Preschool Promise, the gala waiver. And Dana, I'll let you take this one, but it's just the site level. We're gonna have a
Yes.
yeah.
So
Thank you.
that gala waiver is really the same. The one thing that we needed to do is that through this low enrollment review, we wanted to go ahead and make sure, now I'm looking at Patty, is that our frontier rural grantees we were not adding additional stress. And if we if we remember our monthly reports at the site level, so in order for everything to talk accurately and internally, I know that you were submitting your gala waivers at the grantee level is now has switched in order for it to reduce any kind of a stress and everything's talking accordingly there is that if you can go ahead and now start in January, you need to go ahead and submit one waiver per site. So it's going to be by site, which we have uploaded all of the sites there. So then that way, when, we get a little flag that one of our grantees is at, I don't know, 78% enrollment, that they're not getting these notices, and then you're getting a call and you're like, wait, I thought they had a gala waiver, what's going on, right? So I think that there's so I am asking very kindly that we need to do it by site now instead of by grantee. But that doesn't mean we know that each sites are maybe a little bit different too. So this just really creates our workflow a little bit more cleaner. Okay.
And then I'll
Any, I
just
thought I saw some question. Oh, go ahead, Mel. Sorry.
I was just going to add along the lines to that, and I put it in last month's follow-up. We'd be grateful if you would please ensure that all PSP sites that are on a waiver, that you would communicate to them that the hub did indeed apply for a waiver and it was either approved or not approved. If you would make sure and communicate that with the sites that are within the zip codes, we would be grateful of that. And then, yeah, I saw some questions. Tammy, go ahead.
I just want to clarify. So what I'm hearing you say is that next year to apply for waivers, gala waivers, we have to apply per site. So for me, I apply for my region because of access issues. I'm going to have to put in four. So it's not under grantee. I'm going to have to put in four. So it is a cut and paste for four
I
rather than the
know.
way it used to be where you just hit your site that you were putting it in for. You didn't have to put in for all of them.
Yeah, I totally, I hear you, Tammy. I think until we figure out internally how to make it a little bit more clean, yes, it is by site. Now, one thing for those of you like yourself that are like, that's a lot to go ahead and just copy and paste. You can probably go ahead and mail. I'm thinking that in those cases, they can go ahead and reach out to you and we can go ahead and figure out on the back end how to minimize some of that workload. Maybe a copy and paste or something.
Mhm.
Yeah. Tammy, I hear you. Let me connect with Mel. How can we support on that while still trying to get what we need to reduce confusion here with all the smart sheet stuff? But thank you for flagging that.
Hi,
Okay.
Erica.
Hi, quick question just on this new process. So if say a provider has multiple sites, and I think this may be the same question that Tammy just asked, and
Yes,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. When would need to be submitted for each site? Is that
correct.
correct?
Yes,
Okay, very well. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mel
Okay.
and Dana, we had a couple questions in the chat as well about the previous slide.
Oh, thank you, Sydney.
Yeah, there's one from Chris and another one from Tammy.
I'll go back on this one. Can you see those in the chat, Dana?
Yes,
Thank you.
so first, I'm probably gonna need help here. But I see the question from Chris that says, like, I thought that the slots were being observed. What are we talking about reallocation? I'm talking about newly available slots that let's say that a grantee right now, Chris, in your hub region, we need to reduce or they exit from the program, then we'll go ahead and be able to reallocate back. So it's like current slots that you have right now in the event that we need to go ahead and reallocate back out. Does that answer the question there, Chris?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just thought with all those budget cuts that
Yeah.
that's how we were taking care of it.
Yeah. No, and we were, but it's like the current ones were kind of already accounted in the budget. So
Gotcha.
that's why we need to reallocate them.
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Was there another question in the chat?
Yeah, on the slot allocation, will the applicant pool be open for more providers to apply? That is a great question, right? At this time, it all depends on the circumstances, Tammy. Like if all of a sudden we have new slots that become available in your region, we're looking at the preschool promise eligible provider list, and those entities do not meet your community needs. We may need to have a little consultation with our procurement team and see if we can open an RFA because we can only do that through an RFA. And that's not unusual. I don't see on my screen our friends from Four Rivers, but we had to do that for Four Rivers, right? We have people on the eligible provider list, but they weren't able to go ahead and meet the needs of community, so we needed to go to an RFA to be able to add some more people there and get that reallocated. Okay, I have another.
I see Patty.
Okay, Patty, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I'm clear when we're reallocating slots, it's in regions, right? It's not statewide. Those slots won't be available for anybody else to apply for, just in your region.
You know, Patty, that's a great question. I probably, up until now, I think it's all gonna depend on the hub region, right? I can say that there may be a hub region, right? Jorge, I'll go ahead and use Monoma for example, right? I think that's an example. Is like the team is doing so much to go ahead and reallocate those slots, right? The great work that Jorge and his team are doing, but it's like there may be just things outside of the hub's control that is allowing us to reallocate versus like your hub region where it's like, no, someone leaves, I'm able to reallocate it right away. Does that make sense? So I think that's one thing that we will be thank you for opening that this conversation, because that's one thing that we will be looking internally, like that's one to do here for me is to take a look at how many slots do we have available right now to reallocate and how feasible is it that we can reallocate, because while that's happening, I also know that there's some hub regions, and you can just use the little hint. Let me know if in your hub region you already have sites that have a wait list, but you don't have slots. Can you use your
Yeah.
little hint?
That's why
Okay.
I was
We
asking,
have
because
South
we do
Coast.
have those wait lists. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have Patty. Okay. So we have South Coast. Yeah. Washington. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll need to go ahead and so we have Washington, South Coast, Eastern Oregon, Northwest, Lane, and Patty, you Frontier. Um, yeah, so we're getting that pulse there, right? Which is exciting. It shows the great work that you all have been doing. So I think we will need to go ahead and take into account like how many slots do we have available? Was that how far, right? Because sometimes families want to go ahead and travel. So more to come on that, Patty. Um, thank you. Okay, we have Southern Oregon right there. Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna.
Next question on that. I kind of lost track of the chat there.
Oh, was there another slot
And
reallocation question, Dana?
I think we had. Are we going to collect the data? That's a great question. We'll probably need to reach out. Allison, just a new process. We need to go ahead and develop the process, right? What does that look like if we have a hub region where we're like, we need to go ahead and maybe we're not able to go ahead and meet the needs of community in that region. And that has nothing to do with the grantees, it's nothing to do with the hub. It's just there's different options, right? Okay. And then
I think I can jump to the, can I jump to the next slide?
yeah, go ahead.
I think I can. This slide is mine, and before I talk on it, I just wanted to um, give a brief update that you all should have received the electronic version of the Preschool Promise enrollment manual and the Preschool Promise application, along with the certification of eligibility. The main changes are on the certification of eligibility document, specifically breaking out WIC and TANF. Those are on their own line items now. And so I did have a couple hubs reach out and say, hey, Mel, we already have this, the application from, from June built into our platform. What's it look like? When is the expectation to update this? And I have had a conversation with Dana. You can update it, and the expectation is please use the newer, updated certification of eligibility and all of the newer documents for the next program year. You're welcome to use it now, but certainly moving into the next program year.
Okay.
And then along the lines with that, just wanted to say that the manuals should have been printed, and you should be receiving them if you haven't already. I
Okay.
expect you to be receiving them anytime. And
Okay.
so any questions along the lines with that, just let me know and I can help you with that. So next I'm going to jump to update on the hub site level placement report. This is the report that it's just a different title from the monthly enrollment report. And one thing I just want to call attention to is last program year, if there was any entry updates, I usually did that on behalf of the hub staff. I would go in and make a comment in the report under the comment section of who I talked to, why I made the change, and who approved it, like linking an email and a date and such. Moving forward, since this is all attached to the low enrollment and we're trying to have ease of processes moving forward, if you do have an instance where you do need to update your site level report, we ask that you go in, click the box, the check a box that does entry update. That way, when I filter it out, I will know that any hub that has that box checked has gone in and updated or altered their reporting of some sort. And then please do the entry update date. So if you go in and you're going to update December's data today, please enter in today's date and then explain what changes you made and why. So for example, if you did certain reporting on placements, and then let's say you talk to parents and maybe those placements reports need to change, please go in at the site level placement report and enter in those 3 fields, and then it will notify me and I will know that you made a change. So I will pause with that and see if there's any questions. I don't hear any. And along the lines with that, I should have started out saying this. Thank you to each and every one of you for being on time with reporting and working through some of the little kinks that we had to iron out as we implemented these new reports. Just thank you for your patience. Grateful that you reached out with questions, and then hopefully everything is in place now. If I need to change any hub access, or if someone is receiving emails that are not supposed to, or vice versa, they need access to this report and does not have access, all you need to do is reach out to me, and I'm happy to take care of that for you. Our next slide would be the discussion question, but we are actually at time. And so I will pull this discussion question forward into our next meeting if I'm able. Before we call, I would just like to, the last slide, always, if you're ever have questions around Preschool Promise, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Happy to have a conversation. Favorite part of my job is to meet with you all so that I can understand and try to help you. So that is always available to you. All you need to do is reach out to me if that would be helpful. And then there is also the PSP Hub question and feedback form. If you would like to fill out something and submit it to us anonymously, then that is a space for you to do that as well. So I think for the last minute, if there is any last minute questions or something or feedback. Happy to try to pull that in.
Well, I feel like we had a lot of questions during the whole meeting, so I totally forgot that we had an open Q&A at the end. So, but thank you all once again. It's really nice to see you all, right? Thank you for your kindness. Apologies to, I was seeing messages that came in. Thank you all for the kind messages also received through the chat there. Thank you. I think we can close it off, Mel.
Thank you all for your
Mel,
partnership.
I do have a question for
Oh,
you.
I have a
but
question.
Mhm.
I think it's more region specific, so I'll hang tight.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think I hear Vanessa.